policy and listening to people. And so I had this idea. I wanted to do something that I would coin as a quote-unquote listening tour. So, if you've seen one of the flyers, I made very sure that it was branded as the Listening Tour Town Hall Series. We were originally supposed to start in October. Unfortunately, I had a little personal health issue come up unexpectedly. My whole October calendar ended up being completely wiped, and I ended up cramming everything I had in October and then November. So instead of over a 2-month period, we ended up putting this all together in about a 2 to 3 week period. And I just have to say, like, there is no way with everything else I was trying to make up for that I could have done this on my own. So people like Brandon and Karen and the Eli's and so many others that played a part in organizing this, I can't thank everyone enough, because just when life got unexpectedly very crazy, they were there to help me make this dream of putting this town hall listening tour series together and make it a reality. So thank you, and thank you to all of you. Thank you so much for coming. I know that everyone has busy lives, and it really means a lot to get a good amount of people out here and just have a conversation. I reference back, and I try to keep openings short, but once you become an elected official, you just learn to talk and talk and talk. And you go from like not being able to worry about filling enough time to speak to not being able to shut your mouth sometimes. But real quickly, just one example of why I wanted to do this. When I was campaigning, the way I was able to have success, it wasn't because I could fundraise the most or I had the most name recognition. I was certainly, trailing behind in those areas, but I was going to outwork people, and mainly in terms of actually going and meeting with people one-on-one, knocking on people's doors. And I think to myself and my team of volunteers, we knocked on over 30,000 individual doors in the district. One house in particular was out in Marthasville, and I'll never forget it. Went and knocked on the door, no answer, so I turned around, started walking down the driveway, figure on to the next one, and then the gentleman opened the door. So I turned around, come back, and we started chatting. And I found out he was a disabled veteran, had fought for our country in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And we ended up talking for probably like 25 minutes, which my campaign manager, if he would have known at the time, probably would have been happy with me, because he was always like, all right, 5 minutes or less, we got to hit this many houses. But he started explaining that about a simple issue that himself and other disabled veterans were having in the state of Missouri. He said that he lived in 2 other states and serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. He explained the very onerous, burdensome process to obtain the disability status in the first place. Multiple doctors' visits, all these hoops you have to jump through, and all the other states he lived in. That's all you need. If you want to do a simple thing like get a handicap placard on your vehicle. Oh, there we go. All right, test. Now we're in business. So just to obtain a simple handicap placard on your vehicle, in these other states, you just show them the letter that shows that you've obtained disability status, and that's all you have to do. In Missouri, I learned that day that we have our own set of hoops that you have to jump through, which means scheduling even more additional doctor's visits, and just all this additional burden for just such a simple thing like getting your handicap placard. It seemed wrong, and I told him then, I'm going to remember this conversation, and if I'm elected, I am going to find a way to solve this problem. And by my second year in the Senate, actually one of the bills I was most proud of, I ended up passing that bill. And not only that, there were a number of other veterans that were serving in the Senate and the House. And so I started meeting with some of them, going through other veterans' bills, and taking pieces of those bills and incorporating them into my bill. And by the time I was done, I was told that it was the biggest veterans package that the legislature had passed in probably about a decade. And something that I never expected, just came out of just a simple thing, like just trying to help this guy with just a simple problem, just obtaining a handicap placard. And instead, we ended up with all these additional employment opportunities for veterans, other ways to aid them, additional mental health services, New medallions for those that have fought bravery and want to show their pride for that. You want to get a veterans-related license plate. You have to pay an additional fee. Well, I think you've already paid everything you need to personally if you've gone out there and risked everything for our freedom. And that was another piece of it. Now you can get a veteran can get any kind of veteran-related license plate, 0 fee. We cover it now. And there were probably about a half dozen other provisions as well. And I thought about that towards the end of this last session. And I thought, what else am I missing? I need to make sure, I think one of the most important things you can do as an elected official is to stay engaged with the people that you represent. And so this was one way to help aid in that endeavor, to have an opportunity to conversate with all of you and about any topics that you would like to discuss, whether it's questions or comments you'd like to share about things that occurred in the legislature, you'd like my perspective on, anything that you would like to see from your elected officials going forward, and whether it's this session or in the future. Things that are affecting this particular community that, even though a lot of local issues are handled locally, and in a lot of cases, there are ways that I can help at the state level as well. And so that was kind of the purpose and kind of the whole grand idea. Like I said, I put it together with the help of a lot of people, and I couldn't do it without all you here, because otherwise I'd just be speaking to an empty room, and I don't think that would be very beneficial to anyone either. So, I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna just open up the conversation. If anyone wants to jump in, share a question, a comment, you want to tell me how terrible the job I'm doing, it is completely open. So we'll just go from there. Who'd like to be the first one to jump in? You got it, and then you're going next. Do we have a second mic, or we can share? We'll share.
I'm not prepared for anything. It's just a question. It just popped in my head while you were talking. One of the things in Lynn is that we have this Highway 50 that goes through town. It's just been resurfaced. It's beautiful. I love how it works. Of course, our side roads are terrible, but that road is good. But it's run constantly with these big, heavy trucks. And they're not paying the toll. They avoid the 70 and some of the other roads because they're overweight. And yet there's no weigh station, there's no control, there's nothing to prevent them from tearing up our road again. And I think that there should be some sort of enforcement and weight limits on the roads that go through our town when they're being abused.
Thank you for sharing that. And if you see me, you'll see me occasionally. I will walk over here, I have my iPad, and that's because I have a separate file document I keep for every town hall series. So anytime someone brings something like that to my attention, I might see me over here typing away. And it's not because I'm not listening, I'm surfing on Facebook or anything like that. I want to make sure that I remember the comments that are said here, so then I can take that to my office and we can actually see what we're able to do, what answers we can find, what at the state level we're able to do. Sometimes we can reach out to various agencies, people in local government, and often find solutions. Transportation is always a tricky one. I have a pretty diverse district. I have Franklin County, Warren, Gasconade, Osage, and the city of Eureka in St. Louis County. So, different issues affecting different areas, but you want to know the one thing they all have in common? They all have issues with MoDOT. That's the one thing that in every area of the district you go to. Particularly, I think Warren County is the one I've been hearing a lot more about. They have a highway, or they're redoing 70, where they had, I think, between 8 to 10 rollover accidents in a 6-week period. And it was a miracle that there were no fatalities. And so I've been able to have some success working with them, putting pressure on them. So I am more than happy to reach out and see if there's anything we can do. Just, at least start figuring out options, see if there's a game plan in place, see if they already have anything planned, and go from there. There is a stack, I don't know if they already made it around, there's a stack of my business cards going around. When it gets to you, please take one. And anything, even if you share it tonight, please feel free, email my office as well. And that way my staff sees all those emails also, so when we have our weekly staff calls, I can follow up on things that were discussed. And that way they can kind of already have a little bit of background information. And in often cases, I have a great LA. I was really blessed, actually from Osage County, so no wonder she does such a great job. But I drug her out of retirement to come work for me. Worked in the Capitol since early 2000s, and it has been such a great help as someone that came in brand new, never serving the legislature, about as far as navigating those departments, helping me know who I need to reach out to, and so I will definitely reach out and look into that and see what we can find out. But that way also, if you send me an email, that way I have your contact information, so as we learn more, we can relay that to you as well.